Yeah, we haven't been in that area in several hours. We're actually getting inundated where we're at to the west.
10, this is 9L on Air 4. We're 10-8, we're en route. We're about 20 mics from Ajo. You guys got targets out there?
Are you kidding me? We just broke the record.
The National Association of Former Border Patrol Officers, hereafter referred to as NAFBO, was formed during the 2006 attempt at amnesty. NAFBO is a nonpartisan group formed to respond to the misinformation and disinformation surrounding the 2006 amnesty legislation with fact. We are a 501c4 organization that is affiliated with no other organization. Our board of directors, officers, and senior members have spent a collective millennia and more in the field of immigration. We are advocates for immigration laws and policies that are good for America, and we advocate against those laws and policies that are not in America's best interest. The purpose of this presentation is to show you events that contribute to the intelligence factor associated with an insecure border and aid you in connecting the dots as to what is really the status of border security going forward, as opposed to what interested parties would have you believe. Make no mistake, the underlying struggle and main reason that the border has not been secured is directly related to interactions of money and power, power and money. Our goal is to educate the American people to the dangers of illegal immigration and border insecurity, so they can directly influence our elected officials to make a secure border and a safe America a reality. Political correctness has no place in this conversation. You are urged to consider this presentation as an intelligence briefing about criminal violence along the Arizona-New Mexico border with Mexico. Essentially, it contains the elements of a congressional briefing presented August the 18th, 2012. Parts of this presentation are very graphic in nature. We have found through experience that the words extreme violence and domestic terrorism are relatively meaningless in comparison to the photographic representations showing actual examples of those events. To soften this message would diminish full understanding. My name is Zach Taylor. I am the current chairman of NAFBO and their designated border security expert. I spent over 26 years on the Texas and Arizona border with Mexico, apprehending drug and alien smugglers. My primary job was generating and responding to real-time intelligence directly related to cross-border criminal activity. This briefing will be conducted much as I would brief a military unit, special operations detail, or detailed in agents about what is happening in the border area of operations on the ground. In this case, I am briefing you as to what you can expect today. The primary purpose of the immigration laws of the United States are to ensure the national security and public safety of America. These two elements are also the foundational elements of border security in our view. The subject of this briefing is the present state of border security and criminal violence associated with the Arizona and New Mexico border with the Republic of Mexico. The border situation is no longer simply about the poor coming here to find a better life. The evidence points to a much higher stakes struggle with the security of America hanging in the balance. To that end, I will synopsize events that clearly demonstrate that this border is not secure, but is a dangerous and lawless place. Arizona's immediate border area is represented by the lower red line and is 25 miles from the international border. This is called the immediate border area. 62% of this border is federal public land. The The Border Patrol does not have unfettered access to all of the federal public land within the immediate border area for the purposes of patrolling and securing the border. By law, the Border Patrol does have unfettered access to state and private lands within this 25-mile zone. The Border Patrol cannot secure the border if they do not have unfettered access to the physical border and the immediate border area. The border region is represented by the red line 100 miles north of the Mexican border. The Border Patrol needs, but does not have, unfettered access to all public lands within this zone. The lack of unfettered access by the Border Patrol significantly contributes to the development and maintenance of lawless conditions on much of these lands. As you can see, these federal public lands flow in contiguous fashion from Mexico to the Phoenix, Arizona area and do provide a drug and alien smuggling corridor to the transnational criminals that exploit their advantage there. This enforced policy by government officials of preferring subjectively presented environmental protection over an objective program to secure the border has contributed to the creation of these lawless areas in no small way and ensures the continuance of illegal activities there. This drug smuggling corridor is provided to the transnational criminals complements of the United States government. And, as you will see, certain members of Congress seek to provide another drug and alien smuggling corridor for transnational criminals in New Mexico. In the section of the Arizona-Mexico border that lies within the Tucson Border Patrol sector, the current on-duty agents reported in 2010 and 2011 that they estimated that they were apprehending less than 3% of the illegal traffic that was crossing the border and were effectively patrolling less than 70% of their assigned border area on a monthly basis. In that same time frame, Tucson Sector Management estimated that agents were apprehending 25% of what was crossing the border illegally. Either figure is unacceptable, and neither is evidence of a secure border. This is a photograph of the Monument Fire. The account of events that was reported to Forest Service headquarters was: one set of tracks came out of Mexico, went around the west end of the border fence to enter the United States. That subject walked about 60 yards east, dispersed an accelerant, lit the accelerant, and walked back around the west end of the border fence and returned to Mexico. The U.S. Forest Service sent this report to the State Department. The State Department instructed the Forest Service not to release the information. Beginning on May 18, 2011, until after the fire was out, the Coronado National Forest was closed to civilian traffic, increasing the probability that the cause came from Mexico. This was a case of information related to border violence being intentionally concealed from the American public. 67 homes were destroyed by this fire, and the local residents that did not flee for their lives were evacuated. The fire was in the Miller Wilderness on Fort Huachuca. Fort Huachuca is a top-secret military installation. Fort Huachuca is also an active drug and alien smuggling corridor. This is a photograph of the Murphy Complex fire in Peck Canyon, which is within the Tumacacre Highlands Wilderness Study Area. 3 illegal aliens from Mexico were apprehended in the area that admitted setting some of the fires. Their alleged story about setting the fires as signal fires did not make sense. They kept moving downwind with the smoke and setting additional fires. The United States Attorney at Phoenix, Arizona, Dennis Burks, declined to prosecute the arsonists. Dennis Burks is also the United States Attorney with jurisdiction and oversight for Operation Fast and Furious. The U.S. Forest Service and the U.S. Border Patrol attempted to cover up the fact that the fires were set by 3 aliens then in custody. Even more telling, the incident commander for the Murphy Complex fire personally contacted the Arizona Republic and gave them the facts, and they would not run the story. This was clear evidence of a cover-up about the Murphy Complex fire, orchestrated by the government and aided by one of the largest newspapers in Arizona. Again, the Forest Service was ordered by the Department of State not to report the facts about people come from Mexico starting the fires. This information is from the Wildland Firefighters Log of the U.S. Forest Service, Nogales Ranger District. The timeline was not available, but I was told it covered a considerable amount of time. This is a color map of Congressman Raul Grijalva's proposed Tumacacri Highlands Wilderness in dark green. Note that it is contiguous from the Mexican border north into Pima County, Arizona, and beyond the Border Patrol checkpoint north of Tubac, Arizona. The creation of this wilderness study area effectively extended the U.S.-Mexico border approximately 23 miles into the United States and provided a way around the Border Patrol checkpoint for drug and alien smugglers. Wilderness designations hinder Border Patrol operations and do not provide agents with unfettered access they need to secure the border. Note at the center of this map is Peck Canyon. Peck Canyon is where Brian Terry was killed by weapons provided to criminals during Operation Fast and Furious. Peck Canyon arguably is the most dangerous area along the U.S.-Mexico border. Please note the connection between federally protected lands such as wilderness and monuments and transnational criminal activity. This is an incident plot of the Peck Canyon area within the Tumacacri Highlands Wilderness Study Area. This level of violent criminal activity was documented just 3 weeks before Brian Terry was killed in Peck Canyon. That his team was sent into Peck Canyon armed with beanbags in their shotguns is a very strong indicator that the leadership in the Department of Homeland Security is not interested in officer safety. This incident plot is proof that Peck Canyon required a response stronger than beanbags. 2.5 years later, those responsible for Operation Fast and Furious that signed the authorizing Form 819 have yet to be disclosed or brought to justice. Again, here we have a clear acknowledgement that this section of the Arizona-Mexico border is dangerous. This monument is dangerous to the extent that it is closed to the public because of transnational criminal activity. Yet, the Border Patrol is denied unfettered access to secure the border. It is difficult to imagine who, more than the transnational criminals, benefit from such a policy. Such a policy does not contribute to border security. This photograph was taken right from the Arizona Game and Fish Hunting Regulations booklet. It should read, "Border Insecurity